Hi guys, today we're going to talk a little bit about midpoint theorem on a number line. And so there are two ways to talk about it. One is when it's on a number line. The other one is when it's on a coordinate grid or a graph. So we'll start with the number line first. So if I take a look at this number line, I have 2 points. I have whatever I have here and at A and whatever I have here for B. So theoretically, the number line has a midpoint that's exactly in the middle. So if I were to count 2 spaces to get there and count 2 spaces to go there, we don't always want to have to count. So that can be kind of a drag when we're doing that, especially if the numbers get very large. So the easiest way to do it is take whatever this point is here for A, whatever it is here for B, and add them together and divide by 2. So you're basically finding the midpoint by finding the average between the 2 points that you have. So here's kind of an example of one. So on a number line, they're giving you 2 x values. So they add them together and divide by 2. So the 2 that they have here are -4 and 8. So if I do -4 plus 8, that would end up being -4. Or excuse me, try +4 there. There we go. So +4 divided by 2, which is 2. Now, again, I could count in until I get to the midpoint from both ends, but we're trying to avoid doing that as our numbers get larger. So let me give you a couple more examples that we can look at. So let's find the midpoint here. So I want to find the midpoint. Let's see, the first one that we have here is Q and T. So if I look at Q, Q is going to be right there and T is going to be right there. So let's get our actual points there. So if I were to count, if this is 4, this would be 6 right there. And if I went up here to T, 25, 26. So if I want to find the midpoint, I do 6 plus 26 divided by 2. So if I do 6 plus 26 is 32. And if I divide that by 2, it's going to be 16. So the midpoint would happen right there at 16. So again, we have a strategy for how to be able to find them, that point without having to actually count forward or backwards to find that. So let's look at our next one. So our next one is R, which is -4, and S, which is 12. So -4, plus 12 divided by 2. So if I do -4 plus 12 is going to be 8. Divided by 2 is 4. So that midpoint for those two would be right here. Now, if you get a midpoint and you're like, oh, that's not anywhere near where it would be halfway in the middle, you know you've kind of done something wrong. Okay, let's look at the next one. Let me choose a different color here just to make it easier. So we're going to use R again, and then we're going to use U. So we have -4 and 20. I'm going to divide that by 2. So -4 plus 20 is 16. Divided by 2 is going to be 8. So that means that spot right there is going to be halfway between them. I think you kind of get the idea. So midpoint, all you're doing is adding the 2 numbers together and dividing by 2 if it's in a number line. Now, there are times where it might be different. So if it's on a graph and I'm looking at this, I'm going to have 2 points here. I'm going to have 2 values here, an X and a Y, and 2 here. So it's going to be almost the same thing, except we're going to add the X's together and divide by 2, and add the Y's together and divide by 2. And that, again, is going to be exactly in the middle. So I'm going to give you some examples of how to do that. So sometimes they're really nice, and they just give you values. So if I look at this, these are both the X values. So I'm going to add the X values together and divide by 2. And then I'm going to add the Y values together and divide by 2. So +5 plus 1 is going to be 6. So 6 divided by 2 is going to be 3. Okay, then here, 0 and 4 is going to be 4. So 4 divided by 2 is going to be 2. Okay, let's try it with the next one. So in the next one, here are my x values. So negative 9 plus 7 divided by 2. And if I do the y values, 3 and negative 8. So negative 9 plus 7 is going to be negative 2. Negative 2 divided by 2 is going to be negative 1. Okay, now 3 plus negative 8 is going to be negative 5. So negative 5 divided by 2 is going to be negative 2.5. So what's really nice is if the midpoint's even a fraction or a decimal, it's going to give that to you. Okay, now that's if they give you the points. Sometimes you're just going to get a graph, and then you're like, I got to find the midpoints. The only way I can do that is to actually find those 2 points and do what I was just doing. So this point right here, it would be over negative 3 and down negative 2. So negative 3, negative 2. If I went to this point, it would be over 1 and up 4. So over 1 and up 4. So these are the 2 points that I have. Okay, now just like we did before, same thing. I'm going to get the x's and divide by 2. And I'm going to get the y's and add them together and divide by 2. So negative 3 plus 1 is going to be negative 2. Negative 2 divided by 2 is going to be negative 1. Okay, on this one, negative 2 plus 4 is going to be positive 2. So 2 divided by 2 is going to be 1. Now listen, negative 1, positive 1 should look like it's in the middle point. So that is kind of a way that you can double check yourself as well. Okay, keep going. We'll talk about a few more in a minute.